And welcome back to Game Escape. Here today with a quick review video of the WWE Network. This was launched this past Monday on the 24th of February 2014, and I just wanted to kind of go over it and give a quick little review, talk about my first week's experiences with the network. In addition to being a big video game fan, I grew up with professional wrestling, and I really have sort of fond memories of the glory days of the WWF and the WCW and a little bit of the ECW. And when this was announced at CES, I was actually, for the first time in many, many years, excited to purchase a wrestling product. Every year, a buddy of mine and I buy WrestleMania, and it's $60 or maybe $65. And so when they launched the network, one of the features you got was for $10 a month plus tax, you can, I guess depending on where you live, plus tax, you can have access to all of the live pay-per-views, including WrestleMania, some live original content, and their entire pay-per-view video library, which was really a nice value add. And so the reason why I'm kind of doing this video, moving away from video games for just a few minutes here, is that I think this service highlights one of the arguments I made in my Nintendo eShop is overpriced video, which I just uploaded yesterday. So I think first of all we'll kind of look at what the network offers, talk about some of the positives and negatives, and then make that connection to video games. So when you log in on PC, this is what you see. It always starts up with the live stream of whatever they're broadcasting. I've put it on pause here because I don't want to get into any legal trouble with this video. Stream quality on PC is very good. I, however, was interested in it because it will work with Apple TV, which I have kind of on my main television. I've got two PS3s in two bedrooms in the house, and it works on PS4. The interface, though, is roughly similar. On the connected platforms connected to your TV, you don't have this sort of live window. And basically, they have a listing of what they're going to run during the day on the live channel. This is new this week in the WWE. I'll have to check that out. And then you can get replays of shows. So if you click on Raw, they don't seem to have, I guess, the latest Raw. I was under the impression that you'd be able to watch a replay during the week. That is not the case. Maybe SmackDown? No. So I don't know if that's just due to some sort of legal situation with the launch of the network. They don't have that. I think, though, you get NXT. So this was, I think, their first live event, NXT Arrival. So that was just this past week, and I think you can watch Main Event and Superstars. Now, I've never watched any of these shows. I guess these are the B shows. You've got some of the original programming that they're doing for the network. Beyond the Ring, this was a pretty good. I watched about 10 minutes of this, kind of reliving the whole Bret Hart Shawn Michaels rivalry. They did a really nice WrestleMania review, and kind of a nice high quality documentary about the first WrestleMania. And the Vault series, which I was particularly interested in, especially if you look at some of the ECW stuff. ECW before it was Extreme Championship Wrestling, back when it was Eastern Championship Wrestling. So that was pretty neat to see. They also have WCCW. If you had the 24/7 network, you see some of the old school stuff. And then, of course, the pay-per-views. It's, again, just as advertised, every pay-per-view in the history of the WWE, plus WCW and ECW. So, yeah, I mean, if you are someone who has not yet relived the wrestling of your childhood, this is absolutely awesome. It is probably the best dollar you can spend on pro wrestling. I, on the other hand, my nostalgic wrestling bug kicked in a number of years ago. I think maybe 2005. I started purchasing a lot of old VHS tapes and actually digitized them So I've actually seen a lot of these shows. My nostalgic mode is kind of over. So for me, yeah, I mean, it's great. The quality, once you get these things streaming, is much better than any sort of VHS transfers or YouTube videos, or there's other ways to watch wrestling online. But this is the absolute best way to do it, at least for these pay-per-views. Definitely worth the money. What is the stream quality like? Well, the stream quality is really, really good. The live stream has, for me, been flawless on PS3 and Apple TV. Those are the platforms on which I've watched the live stream. Haven't looked at it on the PS4 as of yet. Obviously, on the PC itself, totally fine. The one issue that has come up, however, has been when you're calling up pay-per-views. They take a long time to buffer, the old content. And honestly, for the PS3, it was broken. These things for me just would not stream. And I've got a very, very good connection. It's 50 megabits down, so I can stream really anything I want in 1080p on any platform without any problems. But for whatever reason, the pay-per-views were taking a really long time to load. And it wasn't happening with the live stream. Again, the live stream, high definition, perfect on every platform. This has since been corrected. Apple TV is fine. iPad is fine. PS3 is getting better. However, the stream kind of starts and stops, at least for me. And I'm on the East Coast of the United States, so I don't know if that's kind of a regional thing, but it's improving. Basically, what you have to do, the workaround that I've found on the PlayStation platforms, is to, it'll now load. It'll get you into the event, pause it, go away, do something for a minute, 2 minutes, start it up again, and you should be okay with the starts and stops. Now, I've tried this on a old 60 gigabyte PS3 Fat, and one of the newer ones, and it was kind of the same issue. So I don't think it's a hardware issue. I don't think it's a local bandwidth issue. I just think that they need to get the service up and running. And all these videos are hosted by MLB Networks. I guess the MLB, provides the streaming technology. And I was reading that for some people, who subscribe to that service, the beginning of the baseball season always has trouble like this, like for about a week, and then it gets better. So be aware of that. And I was more than happy to support this, and it didn't, bother me tremendously. But what will bother me is if they have technical difficulties at WrestleMania. This is the reason why I got this. Like I said, my buddy and I, even though we don't watch wrestling on a week-to-week basis, once a year we watch WrestleMania as kind of a throwback to our childhood. So it will be very upsetting if that doesn't work. The other issue that a lot of people have brought up is that there's no resume function. So if you cut it off in the middle of WrestleMania 4, you start it up again, you're at that god-awful battle royal, and with the buffering speeds so slow, you're gonna have to sort of scroll to the point at which you left off, and then just wait for the thing to buffer. I would imagine that they'll correct all of those issues with time. I think, for me, and this is really going to determine whether or not I keep the service. It's a 6-month commitment, so it's $60. Like I said, that's what I was paying for WrestleMania anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But what they're going to have to do, like in the Vault segment, is really put all the shows together that built a specific event. So yeah, it's great that you have WrestleMania 6, but let's get some of the week-to-week programs that built the Hogan Warrior angle. That is something that I couldn't do in the past. Like, I have WrestleMania 6 on one of my hard drives. I bought the VHS back in the day, transferred it over, and WrestleMania 6 was a fun event. It's just something I remember from my childhood, but I've seen it probably more than 10 or 15 times in my life, so it's not that interesting to me. But what I missed probably back in the day, and now with some of the week-to-week programming. So I think that's kind of the direction that they can move in. Maybe around Christmas time they can give you the build of a particular Starcade, and kind of have that sort of seasonal, like, okay, it's now spring, we're going to show you some Spring Stampede builds. Spring Stampede 94, one of my favorite events. I would love to see the build for that. So I think that's where they can go with it. Why is this relevant to gaming? Well, I mean, it's not directly relevant, but it's an example of what I talked about in that Nintendo video, and that is, here's an example of a company using their back catalog productively to get eyeballs on their product, to present their product in a new way, and to give value to their fan base. Now, like I said, I have not watched wrestling on a weekly basis since the end of the Monday Night Wars. I don't particularly like modern day wrestling, but I love the old stuff. And with this VHS collection that I have, I digitized it, and I like to watch it, before I go to bed. Sometimes it's kind of a nice, relaxing thing. Throw on a SummerSlam, throw on a Super Brawl, and watch it for about 10 or 15 minutes, or sometimes longer. So, I think to get a fan like me back into the fold, to get me watching the product again, to it's basically given them a vehicle to show me some stuff that I would not search for on my own. I mean, I've never watched NXT in my life, and yet, they had that live stream of, I guess, whatever it was, Arrival, and I watched a little bit of it. I didn't particularly care for it, but it got me watching the product. And I think this is something that video game companies should really look at. This is a wonderful value proposition to wrestling fans, current and former, new and old. It's $9.99 for everything. I mean, they could have easily set up a paywall system. It's like $9.99 for the back catalog, and for some of their SmackDown, Raw replays, review shows, and stuff like that. If you want the live pay-per-views, it's going to be, another $5. If you want access to the Vault segment, another $5. Or they could have just said, okay, it's $9.99 for everything except WrestleMania. You're going to have to pay $30 for that because it's a moneymaker. Now, everything is given to you as a fan, and it's one of those things that it's more competitive. It's a better product than going onto YouTube and looking for this stuff. It's a better product than searching for this content on a torrent if you can find it. And that's what I was really talking about in that Nintendo video. That was like the Steam argument I was making, that if you put together a service that is a decent value, that's fun to use, that gives you materials in the highest quality possible, people will pay for it. And if you read the reports, this is one of the biggest new media streaming service launches ever. So I wanted to support that. Like I said, highly recommend it. I mean, if you buy the pay-per-views on a monthly basis, this is a complete no-brainer. If you are someone who liked wrestling back in the day, but hasn't really seen some of these old events, you haven't had that little nostalgic fever for the old stuff, and you want to go back and watch all of the pay-per-views that you remember as a kid, also a terrific value. And if you're like me, if you're a casual fan who loves wrestling, doesn't love the current product, but nonetheless picks up WrestleMania for $60, it is a very, very solid it's a very, very solid value. So WWE Network right now, I recommend it for wrestling fans. Like I said, there are some issues that'll frustrate you, particularly if you're constrained to one device. Like if you can only watch it on a PS3 or PS4, you're going to have some issues. Actually, PS4 has no search function, which is weird. If you're going to watch it on Apple devices, it should be okay. I would say, give it a month. Although that'll put you, I guess, maybe past, I don't know when WrestleMania is, but it's usually at the end of March, beginning of April. I did read that they were saying, if you want to watch WrestleMania, get the network beforehand. So maybe give it 2-3 weeks before, let them get the bugs settled and then get in on it. Let's hope some video game companies take this approach, take this strategy of giving you all that they can possibly give you at a reasonable price. And from what I've been reading about the business model behind it, the wrestling company is going to make money. You're going to get some enjoyment out of it. It is really, really a win-win situation. So I thank you as always for watching Game Escape, and I'll be back probably next Friday with a gaming-related